Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Public Land Open Spaces Committee meeting this Tuesday evening. The following is a reminder to meeting attendees that this is a formal meeting, and I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during the public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. And as always, can I ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking, please? First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. I've got apologies from Councillor Woodhead. Other than that, everyone else is in attendance, so thank you very much. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Any statutory declarations of interest, pecuniary or non-pecuniary in relation to any agenda item? Councillor Thomas?
Non-pecuniary allotments.
Allotments, okay, thank you. And Councillor Strawn, thank you.
Non-pecuniary 13B.
13B. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, so we'll move straight on to Chairman's announcements. I've got no announcements, so we'll go on to public open session. No members of the public present in the chamber. No one online. So straight into, we've got no invited speaker. Item 6, and then members' questions. Any members' questions? Councillor Skilton.
Thank you. Just wanted to know why 13B and C are in exempt, their relation to Sport Pavilion update report and Archery Club update report, and do they need to be in exempt?
I'm going to defer to the clerk on that.
Yeah, with 13B, it's part of a background conversation that's been going on with our partners, and it's a kind of informal sense about where we're going in that direction. So it's been sensitive negotiations taking place in the background. Item C relates to the consequences of some decisions in regard to other areas of green spaces and where we may or may not be able to help out the archery club, and that's the logic of it.
I'm happy for them to remain in exempt, but is there definitely the legal basis for them to be in exempt?
100%, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Skilton. Any other members' questions? Thank you. All right, so we'll move next on to item 7, minutes and recommendations of meetings. So we are on page 7, the minutes of the PLOS meeting on the 17th of June. So for accuracy first, page 7. Issues no, page 8 for accuracy and page 9 for accuracy. So we're happy to sign those. Are you happy for me to sign those? Yep. Okay, thank you. And then straight on to matters arising in relation to the same minutes again from page 7 of the pack. Any matters arising? Page 8 matters arising and page 9. No, okay, thank you very much. We'll move swiftly on then to item 9. So 9A, prioritising of roadworks. Now, as you'll probably aware, this is a bit of an unusual item for it to appear on the PLOS agenda, given that this would normally be an item that comes to full council. Because of the nature of the item, and then we weren't able to get it onto the previous council meeting in time, on balance, and because of the timeline that we need to get this back by, we felt it was appropriate to come to a committee, and happened to be that PLOS is the closest committee. So we have an opportunity here as members of the PLOS committee, and I think it was offered out, if I'm correct, offered up to other members of council who wish to attend or contribute to this to be in attendance. So our aim here really is to identify any areas in the town, particularly where there's areas of concern about the road, so that we can feed back into the joint committee and to Central Beds where there are key priorities on road works that need to be done. So it's not sort of a single potholes particularly, it's the bigger projects. So if I think I've covered that, Peter, that give you enough. So so the aim really here is some suggestions around roads that we could put forward as roads that need work on over the next 12 months. Over to you to make suggestions, Councillor Alban and then Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest the Hitchin Street road surface.
Yep.
It's that's had quite a few water leaks over the recent years. I'm hoping there's no more, going to be no more, but yeah, the surface is very poor in places. And if you try and cycle down there, as I have been,
Yes.
then yeah, you really do notice it. And yeah, that could cause an accident. I think that some of the state of the road surface down there, but it's quite a long stretch.
I was going to say, are there particular sections of it? So, just for being ultra clear, is there an element? Is it the whole of Hitchin Street, or is it a section from, I don't know, for example, Teal Road to Langford Road, or where is it? Is it the whole length? I guess I'm trying to establish.
Particularly where is it Blenheim Avenue and
Right. So you've got Blenheim Road and South View. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's in that area. It may extend a little bit beyond.
Okay.
But in that kind of area.
Okay. Councillor Strawn.
Just on the subject of Hitchin Street, near the part between Bonds Lane and the Market Square in particular, that is beginning to collapse. The drains or something have gone there. That is quite dangerous, and as it dips, it's very easy to just step off, particularly at night, and somebody could easily twist it or break an ankle on it. So that is actually quite appalling the way it's collapsing there.
So from Bonds Lane to the Market Square.
Yes.
Is that what you said? Right. Okay. Thank you.
That's particularly bad, just that little stretch there.
Okay. Councillor, yeah, Councillor Knight, then Councillor Thomas. Sorry.
Thank you. So I'm not really sure if this is within the scope of what we're being asked for, but I'll say it anyway. So the Potton Road Railway Bridge and embankment is dangerous, in my opinion. It's regularly overgrown. The fencing is of such a style that it's very easy for plants, bushes, hedges to push their way through, and recently volunteers have had to clear that.
Yeah.
The footpaths are extremely narrow, which leads to people with pushchairs and prams and kids walking in the road on a fast piece of road with a corner. And of course, we know that further development has been approved with no actual plans to remedy it. So I think we can't keep kicking this into the grass. We need Central Beds to actually come up with a plan and implement it. You know, probably something like moving the footpath to only one side of the road and making it twice as wide. You know, something radical, but it's let's not wait until someone's hit by a car.
Okay, thank you. I'm making note of these, and I think what we'll do is just go around afterwards, so summarise what our views are on each of those. Councillor Thomas, please.
I'd second the Potton Road Bridge. I mean, we were working on it on Saturday. I was one of the people, and the number of things that could have happened. We had jackets on. We had the requisite symbols out that you're supposed to have. We had cones. We had to keep moving them because people were coming too close. We had to move them out a bit more, and they got nudged back. So it is quite dangerous, even when you've got the right stuff out. Also, probably London Road is patchy. All of it. It's the main road in, and it's very it's breaking up all the time. Even when they fixed it, it breaks up. And we've still got the 3 magic potholes.
And
they've topped them up, and they haven't gone down anymore. So if they top them up a bit more and flatten them, that would do, I think, for that stretch. But the bottom end, from the petrol station up to about Yorkshire Grey, it looks patchy all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. So
could do with a strip on that.
it's almost as if the whole of London Road, but there's certain bits that are okay, but there's other, but it's not all of it, is it? So, okay. So we've got London Road in there then. Councillor Jones.
Just building on Councillor Knight's point, and actually, again, it goes to understanding the scope of
Exactly.
works.
Yeah.
But it's happened to myself, and actually, I just saw it on We Love Biggleswade a couple of days ago. Actually, it's happened a number of times. The sequencing of the lights and the way that it works on that Potton Road Bridge, where people are coming over now. Because we don't see the other side of the lights, we don't know if it's people just jumping versus the actual. But if they're going to do some investment in that area, that would be helpful for the full scope to be included. So
okay, so we'll note that as something. I think it should be included in our comments, but I think that should be outside the scope. I think it's because if it's about road repairs, but I appreciate the fact it should go in this comments. Councillor Skilton.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to propose improved cycle provision on London Road, on Potham Road, and also pedestrian provision on Potham Road, including the bridge, and also the crossing at St John Street. I'd also like to propose contraflow two-way for cycling on Rose Lane between Sun Street and St John's Road.
Right. Sorry, you're going to have to go. No, I'm good, but so cycle on London Road and Potham Road. Yeah.
Yeah. So two-way for cyclists on Rose Lane between Sun Street and St John's Road, and then introduction of a cycle route between the junction of Rose Lane and St John's Road to Dan Albone car park or thereabouts. So at the moment, cyclists have to follow the same one way as traffic, and you end up with just cyclists mounting the pavement at that junction and going down the pavement on Potham Road. So then something needs to be done there. And the last one is improved, well, a segregated cycle route from Langford, from Jordan's Mill to Langford Garden Centre, because that's the only route on that national cycle, the only bit of that national cycle route from Stevenage to Bedford that is not off carriageway, and that's desperate.
Okay, I'm conscious that I'm genuinely not sure what the sort of the remit of this prioritisation of road works. I suspect that it's improvement on the existing roadworks, Councillor Scott, but happy to note them. I think we need to be clear on what we want to put forward, and we can put everything forward, but being clear that we're not going to get everything.
Well, yeah, I think, I mean, yeah.
Understanding. But I'm not sure I've noted everything down here. So I've got a two-way cycle on Rose Lane to St John Street.
Yeah, and then a safe cycle route from Rose Lane junction with St John Street to, well, say Dan Albone car park, you know, that to get you to that bit of town, really.
Okay, Asia, I hope you're keeping up as well. So yeah.
And the other one was a segregated cycle route between Jordan's Mill and Langford Garden Centre.
Okay.
Thank you. I think I'll do for now.
No, for now. Councillor Alban.
Yeah, I think it's got to be okay for us to add things which may be beyond the remit, because this is going to go through the joint committee.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we can err on the side of.
So what you're saying is just put everything forward, and
exactly.
then I understand what you're saying. So, okay, Councillor Knight.
Thank you. I guess I'd argue the opposite, that we perhaps need to prioritise, because if we just come up with a big long list of things, actually I think we become less influential. And if we prioritise, we might get the one or two things that we're asking for. I mean, in particular, I don't really agree with the two-way cycle route on Rose Lane between Sun Street and St John Street, because it's quite a narrow road, because there's a lot of parking down there. It's one way, and if you were to try to have dual, you'd probably have to stop the parking. And then where are those vehicles going to park? And I'm just not convinced that needs to be a priority.
Councillor, I think what we'll do. Okay, so I think what we'll agree to do, we'll note them. I think we can make suggestions. I think there's some that are perhaps more. I agree with Councillor Knight in terms of prioritising, but I also agree with the point about things going so that central beds can make decisions, and there's feedback from the council individually or otherwise, and I think there'll be some that we all will agree with. So Councillor Storm.
I just think that in terms of priorities, it should be road surfaces where there's damage and they need repairing. Should be the number one priority, and then there are other priorities which are more cosmetic to properly improve the environment, so to speak. But I think the number one priority has got to be road safety and the road surfaces, because there's some road surfaces that are quite bad.
Okay, so have we got any? Thank you, Councillor Swan. Is there any other suggestions? So no. Okay, so we have Hitchin Street. We talked about Hitchin Street, the section between Bonds Lane and the Market Square, Potham Road Railway Bridge. I agree with the principle of that, but it seems like a quite a big project, so it's something that should be put forward. But whether that fits in with the parameters that we're looking for, but definitely should be on there. I remember as a child from walking from Fairfield and up to Oakwood Peak in exactly the same situation. So it's been like it for years. So hopefully we can do something there. We've also then got then London Road. There's quite a lot down London Road, and then we've got Councillor Skilton's the two-way cycle routes. There's all of those. I think it's fair to say we've got some good suggestions there. Aisha, if we can list those, do we have any suggestions on priorities on these? Are we where we think the priorities are? Go on, Councillor Jones.
I guess we prioritise in terms of from the safety elements to start with the safety first, like people have described, and then go to what would be ideal. Under the cycling provisions, I completely back up Councillor Skilton when he talks about London Road. I think it's very confusing on there and it doesn't feel safe, but I would prioritise that over Councillor Knight's. I take his point on the Rose Lane. So if we were looking like that, but I would always put the safety first at the top of the list.
Yep. Okay. So how do we progress this so that we've got a list that goes forward? Are we saying collectively all of them go through? And go on, Councillor Strong.
I'd suggest they all get put to joint committee for the consideration, but just try and split them up into safety and which is road safety, and then the idealistic side.
Are you happy then for the minutes to come to myself and the deputy chair to look through and then produce the list that goes forward? Are you happy to do that? So we're not going to manipulate it. It'll be whatever the list is, and then happy to share it out so you know what's being sent. Right, I don't think we're going to be able to necessarily agree on any priorities at this meeting, but if we've got everything that's covered, if you can put that together for us, you and I can then, with Councillor Knight, go through and make sure that we've got them all covered in a priority order. All right? Okay, thank you. All right, so we will then move on to 9B, which is PLOS budget. Members to receive and consider written report from the Head of Finance and Town Clerk. Mr. Tarrant, over to you. Yep.
So I think the first thing I just wanted to stress was that the council is committed to having an open, transparent conversation at all of its standing committees, which will then inform the budgeting process. And this is the first, I think, standing committee to discuss this subject. Officers are obviously looking for some direction from members about their appetite for the new financial year, about whether or not we should be looking at a more significant precept increase, or whether, as officers suggest, we should be particularly frugal and try to look towards a circa precept increase of 4% plus. And that's for members to give us some guidance connected to that. Having said this, as much as we're looking to be very thoughtful about growth going forward, we've completed what we would typically do in any council in regard to a zero-based assessment of what the budgetary requirements are going forward. And that's included in the appendix documentation that you have in front of you. Obviously, the tax base is informed by CBC, and we're still awaiting for that information. It is a decision made by CBC as opposed to something that we have a involvement in or can influence. So we wait that information. In regard to price and pay inflation, in regard to price inflation, we've included 3.8%, which is the CPI figure as of August 25. When the September figure becomes public knowledge, then we'll look to incorporate that into the budgetary process, both in regard to cost, but also in regard to fees and charges. The detailed fees and charges information that you have as an appendix will obviously be considered by finance and general purposes in detail, as they would typically do. But equally, if there's anything of particular interest this evening that you'd like to give guidance on associated with that, it's very much welcome. Turning over the page, as ever with the council, we would look to try and drive cost reductions and efficiencies at the same time. We've captured two figures here for members. Number one is the 11,250 in regard to Appendix E, which is particular to the PLOS related activities. And then there's a wider figure of just under 40,000, which relates to the council as a whole. If you look at what we've been trying to deliver over the last 4 to 5 years, we've taken out approximately £150,000 from the budget. As we have procurement going forward into the new financial year, then obviously we will be looking to negotiate the contracts hard and to try and extract cost reductions and efficiencies from those contracts. The first big contract that will come out, and the specification will come to you shortly, of course, is one of our more expensive contracts that relates to ICT. And that's currently provided by a provider who was relatively close to us. But obviously there's a national picture there. We look to see whoever comes back in regard to that specification. And of course, we'll also share the specification with members. What we've also got in here, and it's one of the more major issues I think that PLOS will want to give guidance on, is if you look at Appendix B, there is a summary of the cost pressures and potential growth issues associated with the PLOS budget. And this is revenue related matters. Where it has a yes beside of it, that yes has been initially included in the budget calculations. However, we would look for members to give us guidance connected to any other headings there that they believe to be relevant and important. So we'll wait that conversation in a moment. Two final things I think I want to say is there's also a summary of capital related growth, and that is summarized in Appendix F. You'll recall the conversation that we had last year connected to this, and that is, if we have growth items associated with this, and we have a 15-page capital strategy document now, that we would always look for external complementary funding, and we're continuing to do that. At the same time, we recognize that we have a relatively small capital reserve of circa 70k, and we're continually looking to build that by investing £25,000 over the forthcoming years to try and build, let's call it a war chest of monies that then can fund any potential growth issues. One of the key issues that we're waiting for in intelligence is we have commissioned a RICS surveyor to look at all of our capital assets going forward and to conduct a detailed survey associated with that. The outcomes of that will be incorporated into the budgetary process and they will be prioritized under members' direction. However, we recognize that there may be some significant issues going forward. The surveyor will tell us what those significant issues are, and we will have to factor them in over the coming years. We won't be able to afford all of those in one go. So as soon as we've got that information, we will share it with members, and you can give us some guidance connected to all this. All of us are working hard to access Section 106 and any external funding to mitigate the budgetary process. I think I'll probably stop there for now, if that's okay, Chair, and then wait for guidance from members.
Okay, thank you very much. So members, you've got the pack, you've got the details. You've also got an additional page that was and is sort of brought around, which gives a little bit more detail related to one of the headings. So the intention really here is to identify the items on Appendix B, where I think if we can go through it, the pack in the order of the pack, if that suits everyone, identify where the pressures are. But I think also Appendix B and Appendix D with the additional page gives some context of where we might need to where the savings are, or where the efficiencies are, but also where there's potential opportunities. So but the aim being going through the appendices, do Appendix A and B, then we'll look at the fees and charges, and I think once we've done that, look at capital after that, if that's okay. So comments, please, if you have any. So that means everyone's happy with Appendix B. Councillor Jones?
Wait to see who was going to go first.
No, that's you.
Yeah. So I think first of all, thank you. There is a lot of information here, so thank you, and hopefully I've gone through it in the right amount, but I'm happy for you to put me back on the right track if need be. In my usual way, I have questions. I'm sorry. And I suppose some of it, if I sort of bucket them together, is a little about looking at this on Appendix B specifically, is where were we last year to understand with specifics. So for example, we've put in potential amount there to cover potential damage to burial plots that may happen in the future, which is definitely great to have it there. But then just thinking about what's happened in the previous years, how does that compare? There's one in there for the roller shutter door annual service, but if we know that that's definitely has to happen, why would it not be included in the budget? Because it feels like that should be there to start. So I think I just want to try and understand. I don't know if it's helpful for everybody. I don't want to prolong the conversation, but going through it line by line, because there aren't many on there. I can see you looking at me. I'm not sure what the right approach is, rather than us dipping in and out of things in a non-logical approach.
I think Mr. Tarrant had his hand there, so I'm going to, Peter, what did you want to say? And then we'll.
Yeah, I think it's probably not right for me to give guidance on process, but I will comment in regard to your two observations. So obviously it's unfortunate when some vandalism happens connected to the headstones, and or they become too old and decrepit and fall apart. Generally speaking, these types of things are absorbed within the generalized budget. So as much as they don't have a necessarily big heading.
All right. Yeah, go on. Carry on.
Yeah, that we look to try and do what we're responsible for doing. We'd also look to try and reach out to the people who maybe still are the family that might still be around, to seek some understanding about how we can move forward associated with that. Now, it is a sense of what may or may not happen going forward. There are some economies of scale, bearing in mind that we've got a budget of 2.1 million. So sometimes, as much as we don't necessarily make allowance for something, you always seek to try and do the right thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got. I think I know where you're going with this. So I did a similar thing. So perhaps if you carry on what you were going to say, but keep it sort of fairly succinct if you can.
Yeah, that's fine. And I appreciate what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Town Clerk, so thank you. And maybe there is just some clarity. I think for me, it's understanding for things like the increase in servicing costs for leased vehicles, why would it not be included? To cover the mower maintenance excess cost, it is included, but I don't understand what the excess cost is. And yeah, I think it's just, and the other question in my mind is what other funding is available to potentially cover some of this stuff, which I'm definitely not an expert in and would seek your guidance for that.
So and I think I might make similar notes. So in relation to the burial plots, where is this in relation to 25-26? Well, what's the current expenditure? So quiet Kytelands, why is that not in the budget? Why is it not included? The additional equipment for play areas. I know we're going to be talking about play equipment. So if we want to build it in there, but I appreciate you. It's a if you put it in, then it's either going to be taken out or whatever. And the servicing for roller shutter and the leased vehicles, why are they not in the budget already? So I think similar to what you've said,
If I can just come back just on that last bit, and then I promise I'll stop. And just reflecting on what you said there, Clark, in terms of doing the right thing, which is exactly what we should do. But if sadly something happened to one of my family's headstones, I know that that's on me. And actually, I have actually taken that cost on myself to repair a great grandparent's headstone, as it happens this year at a cost to ourselves. So then when I think on what the costs reflecting, one of my observations was there was no real consistency in terms of percentage increases on how that would be applied. So to try and understand the thinking behind that, because that might then help inform some of the additional costs that we would put in to do the right thing, as you rightly point out. It's just getting the balance right. So I'm just trying to get a high level overview. I'll stop.
No, it's understood, Councillor Jones. Councillor Knight.
Thank you. So I think, to my mind, Appendix B looks reasonable. I don't want to rat hole on this. We probably need a policy on damage to ancient headstones technically it probably isn't the council's responsibility, and then we have to consider whether a monument is of particular historical interest because it was a local dignitary or figure, or whether sadly if there's no one living able to repair it, whether we actually just have to remove it. And we probably need a policy on that, so we're looking at it in a very objective way, not necessarily absorbing costs for things unless there's a compelling reason. I think the software is interesting for allotments. I presume we expect this will improve our efficiency for things like billing, and therefore that's why we want to procure it. But I think overall it looks reasonable to me.
Okay. So reasonable, but some of these items are not included in the budget so far. So yeah.
Sorry, to be clear, I mean the fact that some haven't been included, I think is reasonable. So the assessment of what is in and is out, I think is right.
So, but what we're looking for then, and whether officers are looking for us to still, well, actually, there's some of these items might be a requirement that maybe should be in there, and I think that's really for us to. Are you looking for some sort of guidance on that, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it's budgeting is a difficult balance sometimes, isn't it, between being frugal and making proper allowance for growth that is absolutely necessary or cost pressures that are absolutely necessary.
Okay.
I'll just stay with this for a couple of seconds and I'll stop. When you look at these, they all look relatively compelling and they all look relatively sensible. The issue of affordability comes into it, and the issue of whether it is essential comes into it, and the issue about the ability to absorb where absolutely necessary comes into it. Well, as much as we do not have a massive budget, we do have some economies of scale and ability to absorb things where absolutely necessary. And I agree with what Councillor Knight was saying. With that particular issue around the plots, then of course, if at least you have a policy, you have consistency of approach. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Councillor Skilton.
Thank you. Yeah, I think none of these on here look particularly outlandish or things that are, it all looks like it probably needs to be done, or there'll be a good reason behind it. And I think officers generally do a good job of bringing us things to spend money on that we need to spend money on. But that total figure, if you took that as a percentage of last year's budget, that would be a precept increase of around 1.5%. And we've already mentioned that we were talking about a budget of maybe a 4% increase on the precept. If every committee brings 1.5%, suddenly we're in the realms of getting near a 10% increase, and we did 13% last year. And I just think when you put it on paper like that, it doesn't. Is that fair to the taxpayer, basically? And then and I know obviously Peter's touched the budget and is very difficult, but we're in danger of costs running away yet again.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Skilton. Councillor Strawn.
Yes, my perception is from Appendix B, which officer will correct me if I've got this wrong. Those that have got the yes by them as increase in the budget are those that are going to occur or are necessary. The others are idealistic, but they are not necessary. And I think therefore what this is trying to do is to guide us saying this is virtually inevitable. The rest of it would be very nice if we had a limitless budget, but we don't. And I think Councillor Skilton's made some good points in that respect. So I think this is the officer's advice, and I think on this occasion we should be taking the officer's advice. Okay,
thank you, Councillor Jones.
Thanks. So I that's helpful, thank you. But then I go back to my questions that it would be helpful to understand a little bit more. So when you say that, this is in addition, an increase in servicing costs for leased vehicles is not included, does that mean that servicing cost increase is only going to happen if we request it, or it's coming automatically? That's where I'm just asking for clarity, because I agree this is not all that much and this is all really relevant stuff, but to Councillor Skilton's point about the incremental increase that we're going to get each time, I'm just trying to understand why it's not included if the wording suggests that it should be.
Go on.
So I would just stress the point. The budget figures that we've got here are just guides, that's all they are, figures. So it's not for officers to determine whether something is in or whether something is out. It's for members to deliberate that. So this is just a guide figure. You can then give us some guidance about what you do and don't want to do. Ernest, did you want to answer the other question? Yeah.
So this is just in addition to maintenance. There is a big maintenance budget, but everything on this list is addition to that particular budget. You know, we are trying to prepare a standstill budget. So anything additional needs to be explained. So that's why we have provided Appendix B. So there is already a maintenance budget, but this is in addition. So we are trying to explain why there has been addition on top of
So
a
that's
maintenance budget.
helpful. Oh, sorry, is it okay if I go back?
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, thanks. So then, if this would be in addition, I suppose it would be really helpful for us to then understand to make an informed decision. What is the benefit of having the increase in the servicing costs for these vehicles if we already have the basic maintenance costs in there? Am I misunderstanding? Go on.
Yeah, but you have wear and tear in these vehicles. Maintenance contracts don't cover new tyres. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
The certain parts that they don't. You can have a maintenance contract that only covers specific items.
Yeah, so, and I have that on my car, for example. So tyres aren't covered, but brakes, for example, are in my maintenance contract. Are you saying that the service level that we've got with our maintenance contract on our vehicles in this particular example isn't as sufficient as we'd want, and this would be the backup? Yeah, the ad hoc for if we needed to replace tyres and things like that. So at the moment, there's no wiggle room within it. We've got the basic, and this would take it up to
Basically,
the.
that's it.
Okay, thank you. And is that the same principle to apply to things like the roller shutter door annual service? That's not a legal or a compliance thing. It's just a great thing to do in terms of upkeep and for maintenance.
I'm gonna ask the clerk to answer that one, if I may.
So I think the better way of looking at this, and it's slightly more difficult to understand, is the things which have no beside it are in principle suggestions that we wouldn't encourage you to include. Councillor Skilton is right. So if this was a consistent sense that members agreed all of the growth that will go to all of our standing committees, then if it's your perception that you want to keep to a relatively low precept, then that would be very difficult to achieve. With some of these things, they will happen. What we're saying is the approach would be that we would look to absorb where they are absolutely necessary as the financial year goes on. Because once you set a budget, the spend patterns vary. The projected outturns vary, circumstances vary, which we all know is like home budgeting. So it's not necessarily a no, it just means no to growth. And we will always look to try and make these things happen if they're essential and require such budgetary support. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an exact science, but
I've got one question in relation to 902 public realm electricity. We've got a budget for 25-26 of 3,000, an actual of 10.6 so far, and a projected of 3,000. How does that work, please? So we're on 902 public realm, 4014 electricity, budget 3,000, actual year to date 10,600, projected 3,000, and then a budget of 3,000 for the year coming. We're on appendix. I've moved on to appendix D.
Yeah. I'll try and keep it short. So our current energy provider has sent us a bill, and they've acknowledged that it's wrong. But
so the projected outturn is wrong.
No. So the actual figure is, even though the invoice is wrong, we still have to enter it. So we are waiting for a credit note. So once we officers receive a credit note, that figure will come down considerably. So that's why.
Okay.
You with that?
Effectively, we've had an invoice and we're going to get a credit effectively. Right. Okay. Which is why then the budget then is going to be lower than, so the projected is going to be lower than the actual year to date, and then the budget is fine. Okay. That answers that question. I was looking at equipment maintenance and public realm 4042. We've got a year-to-date actual of 377, a budget of 8,000, and have committed to 2,700. Have we got something in the pipeline that's going to get us to the 8,000? I'm just sort of conscious that we more than likely have, but it's we've got a budget figure there of 8,000, and the budget for next year is also 8,000. So we're on 4042 equipment maintenance and repair. And again, don't want to over scrutinise this, but I think it's important that we can look at the numbers and be confident we're okay. Yeah. So there's an expectation that we're at 377. We're committed. So the 2713 plus the 377 is where we're at so far, and we've got And when we get to year end, we're expecting to be around about 8,000 on that heading. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
Fine. Councillor Knight.
Yeah, on the same page, I think. So 4014, just going back to electricity for the burial grounds, I was a bit surprised to see an £800 increase in there. So I understand what it is said about the new supplier and new contract. We have a tenant there for the chapel, so I presume they're now paying for some of the electricity that we would have been paying for. And really, we're just left with lighting. And I wonder whether there's an opportunity to review the lighting to see whether we have the most efficient lighting, because, you know, budgeting £1,800 a year for lighting for a couple of cemeteries seems quite high, and I can't think of any other use. So I wonder if there's scope for more modern or efficient lighting.
That's right. We're anticipating that maybe things can get very, very bad because we've not received any actual figures at the moment. Possibly, I think it's because it's quarterly. But in terms of changing the bulbs for the building to be more efficient, I think we've already done that already, but we will keep an eye on the bills. You're welcome.
Okay. Any other then comments or questions in relation to this so far? No, not on these. So does that help you give you enough for now? Okay. Yes, please do. Yes.
Obviously, this is a puzzle, and this is just part of the puzzle. When all of the standing committee information comes together, then obviously we'll incorporate that. We will then report that to finance and general purposes. We'll then give guidance to the council, and members will then make an informed judgment going forward as a group of 15 individuals. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is just part of that puzzle, and I'm sure that as discussions are rich going forward, then we'll see what those outcomes look like. So it will gradually emerge. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just to summarise, and so far we've not given a sort of a guidance to do anything additional. So the ones that are included in the budget, we've not said one way or the other. But I think there's a suggestion that maybe some of those items that we felt perhaps could have been in the budget, review those and see where it gets. But I'd absolutely agree with the sentiment. We need to be controlling our costs and making sure that we're not just putting things in there because there's some demand. It's being frugal, but at the same time doing the stuff that's essential.
Yeah.
If that summarises where our thoughts are. Okay. So can we then? Are we happy to move on to the fees and charges? Yep. So we're on Appendix C then. So this relates to the allotments, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ernest, if we've got the half plot going up by, essentially it's 3.8% on a half plot and 3.8% on the full plot, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So, so the rounding, does that mean that we've effectively rounded it down to 45? Or am I missing the point here?
The proposal from officers is to keep it the same as last year. That's
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have read it correctly. So it's 45. So keeping essentially there's no increase because of the rounding, and the same thing on the full plot. Yeah. I wanted to make sure, just in case anyone else was unclear. Councillor Thomas.
Yeah. Given that we have only been giving out single half plots, the 45 looks expensive compared with the 60, and yet the sort of going parallel. So by the time you get to £100 for a full plot, you're going to have £85 for a single plot, which is ridiculous.
Okay.
So at some point we need to sort of diverge these and not put the single plot up, by the same amount. I don't know how many more single plots we've got than full plots, but I guess as we get more space, we might get a few more plots, but there's something awry here. If you were to graph this, it would look stupid. So we need to think about how these should diverge in the future.
Okay, so to note that, but for now, what officers are suggesting, there's no increase. So for the coming year, and we'll take on board that feedback for future. What are other members' thoughts on the allotment fees, please? Councillor Skilton, then Councillor Agnew.
Looking at the benchmarking, they're expensive in comparison to other boroughs, and I know we are getting a toilet. Well, probably getting a toilet, I think, but. I think we just need to make sure we're giving a really good service for the price we're charging, and I think we do. And as a previous allotment holder I gave up only a month ago or so, there is a vast improvement in the quality of the site, and that's thanks to officers' hard work over the last couple of years.
Okay, I think, was it Councillor Agnew? And then
Yeah, I
Councillor Knight.
just wanted to say almost the same, that actually we seem to be more expensive than the average of other towns that have been given us as a, but averaging out is wrong in this case because we're talking about different sizes and all of that. What I wanted to also note, and I don't remember whether we were actually in the agreement to do it this way, when you go on to next pages where we talk about different prices for different plots, we seem to have a very inconsistent way on how we raised for this particular financial year as compared to other previous increases.
Right.
Was it something we agreed?
Oh, what, so the incremental you mean, or?
Yeah, I think
I
we're not actually raising consistently.
No, I appreciate what you said, but what's happened here, there's no increase proposed by officers actually, so.
No, this one, yeah, I understand, no, I mean, the
She's
next
moved on to
page-
burial.
Yeah.
Oh, you've moved on, sorry. No, sorry,
Oh.
that helps us, Councillor Agnew. So can we just deal with the allotments, get that sorted, and then we'll move on to the other elements? So does anyone else have any comments in relation to what Councillor Knight?
Just briefly, I was going to counter the point that Councillor Thomas made. So you're right that there's a bit of disparity between half plots, full plots. I guess a significant proportion of that cost is actually administration overhead, making sure we get paid, dealing with any complaints. And actually those costs are the same, whether it's a half plot or a full plot. So the only difference is really you're renting a bit more land. So there's probably an argument that the half plot should be more than half of a full plot.
Okay, Councillor Thomas, and then I'm going to.
Yeah, but it's a lot more. It's £15 more.
Okay,
And the other thing is you don't get any choice. You get half plot at the moment.
right,
When we get to the full plots.
noted. Okay, so well, for now, subject to those elements, are we happy to go forward with these fees as they are? So no increase on the allotment fees. I think there's a sort of nod around the room. Okay. I'm going to move on then to Councillor Agnew. It's now over to you if you want. So we're now talking about the burial grounds and the fees and charges, 26, 27. I think I'm right in saying then this is a similar sort of 3.8% increase across the board. Yeah. So
Okay, yeah.
so and that's been applied consistently across all of them. Yeah.
Not really,
No. Okay. I haven't checked all the numbers. So okay, explain then. So if that's not the case. Okay.
As well as trying to confirm whether last time when we had this lengthy conversation a while ago, did we actually mean not to increase the way that we did in previous years? Because it seems like the increase is not really that great and consistent for this year. But maybe we didn't make.
Help me out, Councillor Agnew, with some specifics, if you don't mind. Have you got some specifics so that officers can take?
170 one year, then 180 another year, and then it's just 186. And likewise, I think Councillor Jones actually have your numerics.
So I went through just for some of them, just some random. So for example, I mean, it's not a lovely topic, is it? But for an adult, it's increased by 3.07. For single death, for doubles death, 3.7%. Then for cremated remains, it's 2.22%, which is fine. I was just curious as to what were the different percentages that have been applied. That's all I was trying to understand.
I guess I haven't looked in the details. So I think I'm going to pass that over to the.
Yeah, they're not consistent.
And it's over to you.
All right. So thank you very much, Chair. So the way the burial fees is drafted, there was a resolution from members quite a while ago to first of all have a very comprehensive benchmarking. I have copies over here, but I have kept it. I've kept it because it's too much information, and it's 2 pages. But if members like, I can share it around. So after the comparison, then we apply the CPI. So we're talking about comparing with almost 9 councils, and then we average it, and then we come out with a figure. Then we apply the CPI on. And last year, I think members resolved that non-residential should be 4 times the residential. So that also so we should also be aware of that.
Okay, so
for various reasons.
Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
so essentially, it's not 3.8. It is a benchmark and then a proportioned. Would have been helpful for the chair to have been prepared, wouldn't it? Sorry about that. I hadn't got my numbers completely accurate, but thanks for the explanation. So, okay. So are we happy with those as they are? Any other comments in relation to the burial fees? And presumably that does the same apply to then the memorial fees as well? Yeah, so are we happy with those as they stand then? Peter?
What I was going to say was, obviously, the standing committee will have a view on its own fees and charges, and there'll be a very heavy critique we expect from finance and general purposes to complement the conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move on to then the scale of charges for the hiring of sports facilities. So before I jump straight in, is there anything that we need to be aware of clearly, so I don't get caught out again? Is there anything that's specific that I've not read in the report? No. Okay. So basically, it's a 3.8% increase. So just using the first example, so for the juniors, full-size pitch and changing rooms, we've got no increase. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and again, £5 increase for electricity and water. And again, this is an addition to the £25 plus the £5. Is correct, or am I missing the point here again?
It's one price.
So it's £25 including the £5 electricity.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you. So the same thing for the juniors is 20, including the £5 increase. So effectively, though, none of these have increased in this going forward. Okay. Any comments then, Councillor Agnew?
I just wanted to ask the right-hand side calculation. We will change the CPI, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
But certainly at this stage, the proposal is not to increase the fees, then, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Skilton and then Councillor Knight.
Sorry, the proposal is not to increase the fees for the junior full-size pitch and change rooms, but there is a proposal to increase the fees for the others by £5. No?
So this is what I was seeking to clarify. So we've got a rounding in there, but because the rounding doesn't bring it up to a significant amount, we've kept the rounding, kept it to a £25. So, for example, on the first one, £25, 3%, 3.8 gives us £25.95. So we've rounded it, not increased it. In other words, we've left it at £25. So the information's there. It's there for information, but essentially no increase.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, and this is why I wanted to clarify, Councillor Scott, because I wanted to make sure everyone understood it. Councillor Knight.
So I guess it's a question of philosophy then. So, you can argue we don't have an increase this year, but that probably means we'll have to make a larger increase in a future year, or are we better off philosophically having a smaller increase every year? We've established a precedent that we have odd figures like £61, because I guess no one pays with cash anyway. So I sort of feel we should have a modest increase every year rather than just hold it back and then have to do 3 years or 5 years worth in one go, which then is more painful for everyone to absorb, I guess. So I guess I would argue for a modest increase in all of them.
Okay. Members' thoughts on that?
Yeah, you've got different people paying for different prices as well. So if I play football this year, somebody's paying for it next year for me. So that's unfair as well.
Okay, so I've got Councillor Knight's view as an increase. What you're agreeing with Councillor Knight? What are other people's thoughts? Councillor Jones?
I disagree on this occasion. I think it's quite nice for us to be able to try and invest and give back as much as we can to the local clubs and sports that we've got in the town. Life's hard enough as it is at the moment to try and keep people in the town and that sort of thing. So if we can absorb it and it is minimal, then on this occasion, I'd rather that we go with officers' recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Skilton?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Jones on that as well. We make an assumption we have to put the prices up. We don't actually. I mean, there are other ways we can find that money. And I got a few complaints from people that use the football pitches when we put them up by £5 the last time. And I think I spoke to officers about it and explained the rationale, and they're okay with it. But on top of that last increase, and then to start putting it up again every year, I think would be you know, a bit of a kick in the teeth for our local young and aspiring footballers, and I know some of the local clubs are not well off, and that £5 represented quite a big increase in to, you know, quite an established football club, but one that their junior team is not as well funded as some other parts of it.
Okay, so the office, sorry, Councillor Strong.
I think there's a balance between the two somewhere along the line, because if you look at the junior pitches, the proposed increase, if we went on the inflation base, would be less than £1. So I don't think there'd be any point in doing that. But with some of the adult pitches, the adult full-size pitch and changing room might have gone to say £63, and the adults for the less than full size to £53, because that's a bit more realistic rather than just doing it, because that's again rounding. We had a big increase last year, but there will come a point where there will be an increase. And is it better to do it in gentle steps, which is I think what Councillor Knight is suggesting, rather than doing it in a big step, because we'll have to then explain that it's actually gone up 7% or 8% from the previous year because of the change. So I think there is a combination there. You might leave the junior pitches at the same level because there's no substantive increase there, but the adult pitches, I think you could, if we wanted to, put a couple of pounds on each of them, and I think that might be a compromise.
Okay, so I think that there's a sense of yes, yes, no. So I'm not quite sure where we go with that. Ultimately, F&GP will be the one that will give sort of make this final. You can make a proposal, Councillor Knight.
Shall I propose then that we add £2 to each of the adult pitches?
I'll second that then.
Okay, so seconded. Okay, all those in favour of that then? Okay, those against? I'm going to be against that as well. So that is carried. So £2 on both of those then. Okay. Shall we move on to the next one then? This is so effectively you've got the Drove Road tennis court, no fees, no fee increases. The Drove Road bowling green is all the fees and charges are set by the Bowls Club. And obviously, did you want to talk about the this item? I think we'll perhaps deal with that as a separate item, if that's okay. So if I may, we'll move directly onto, where are we? Appendix D we've dealt with, I think, haven't we? And we've dealt with that one. I think
So it's really about giving guidance at this stage. So obviously there'll be more detailed conversations going forward anyway. So, to summarise, we've gone through these in some detail. They're going to go through to F&GP some of these, and obviously we'll come back again. I think, Peter, one of your initial remarks was around sort of being efficient and not where we've had double-digit increases over previous years. I think we would need to be very mindful of the impact on precept increases and drive efficiency wherever possible. So I think if we're happy, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Councillor Strawn, sorry.
Appendix D.
Yes.
I think it's very good in the way it's been laid out. The observation I might make is where savings are being incurred, where there's minus figures, if there's a commentary, because we've got commentary on some items and not on others. And I think for consistency's sake and understanding, it'd be helpful if everyone had got the commentary.
Noted, and obviously when that comes to F&GP, that I'm sure that'll be there. Thank you. Okay, so we've done 9B. We now have 9C, which is the PLOS presentation and status report. So the head of finance, head of governance, and the public realm manager, please. So we've got a presentation that's, I can't see it, I'll have to turn around.
Good evening.
I'm going to have to get this sorted out so I can see it, actually.
Public wealth. You're about to see a presentation of the work that we've been carrying out over the last few months. This is some of the planters and signage we've been putting out to the entry roads coming into the town. They're now planted up. They have nice plants in them now. They've also got the BTC logo on them as well now. And I'm quite happy to take any questions if anybody wants me to stop, and I'll answer some questions.
Just give you a sense of where Biggleswade starts and ends. Well, the boundary signs.
Boundary
They're
signs,
actually
yeah.
boundary
Yeah.
signs.
Okay. Yep. This is, we've been clearing more plots at the allotments. Also, what I've started doing, again, reusing pallets. We've been dropping pallets off there. We got a lot of deliveries to the public realm depot with build up pallets. They were gone within 5 minutes. 5 minutes they were gone. And they're building fences with them around the allotments, which is serving a good purpose. So everything we're trying to reuse. Obviously, we're doing the green waste. We've got a good green waste management system down there now. We've created, which hopefully I'll show you in the next presentation I do. We have a massive compost heap there now, which we're going to move out into the car park for the plot holders to use. Next slide, please, Isha. And this is a wildflower meadow down at the allotments. Obviously, before and after pictures. We just mowed that in September. We leave it to the end of September. It's the best time. Cut it down, and the seeds regenerate. The apple trees are fantastic this year. I had a great crop on them, so they're looking really well. So, yeah, really good. That has a dual purpose now with the apiary, the bees, which we've managed to get some honey from this year, which is fantastic. Which I'm getting some tomorrow, so I'll be able to show some of you that. Next slide, please. This is Watkins Walk play area. We're going to talk about play areas later on. This is one of them. Now, public realm, we've repainted all the fencing here and all the equipment. As you can see, and it's in better condition now. There's a bit of problems with the surface there, and but you know, we've done a lot of good work in there, and also with other play areas we've refurbished as well along the way. Next slide, please. Now, can we just stop? We'll just stop on this one, Asia, please. This is the wet plots at the allotments, which has been a bone of contention for a long time. As you can see in the video here, we found the issue. Yeah, and basically it's an underground spring, we think. It's not a mains or anything like that. So managed to source pipe. We've done a bit of excavation work. We found where the water was coming in. We've now put drainage in place, and it now has a clear outlet into the river. Okay, I know it goes into the river because I've dye tested it all, and it's working perfect at the moment. The plots are drying out. So we'll monitor it through the winter, and hopefully we've resolved the issue, and we'll be able to offer the plots out again. So that's a success story.
That's a definite success, isn't it? Because that's been plaguing us, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been for a number of years.
So I'm pleased with that. So next one, please, Asia. Yeah, lots of water. And just pause on this one as well, please, Asia. This is the Orchard Centre now. Public realm team. Obviously, we put them on. We purchased a scaffolded tower. We put them on courses, so they could operate the scaffolded tower. They resanded all the frontage, restained it. We're still in the area to doing the overhang, which will hopefully complete through the winter. But you can see what we sanded it down to in the bottom picture and the finished article. And we managed to do it in time for a big function that was up there, which I was really pleased to do. So, and they got some lovely pictures outside for the party that they had there and things. So, yeah, it's looking a lot better. We've also added a planter to the front of the Orchard Centre as well now. So there's a planter there. It's all planted up. It's got the BTC logo. So it's looking a lot better up there now. Next slide, please.
I just got to say on that's a great success, because that had deteriorated to a point where it really needed work, and that's a major improvement of that. And
this is some of the soft play equipment we got with S106 funded. for the Orchard Centre. Obviously, we got the badminton, table tennis, is well off the ground now. It's doing really well. We're getting a lot of continued bookings with that. We're now starting to include this as an add-on to the children's parties that we have at the weekends, and they're starting to take that up now. So again, you know, that hopefully this will all increase the usage for the Orchard Centre. Next slide, please. And that's all the equipment that we managed to get through S106. It's doing really well. Obviously, at the Orchard Centre, we've repurposed the Barnett room now. Again, that's showing good signs of success. We've managed to achieve some more long-term bookings for the Barnett room. So things are going in the right direction at the Orchard Centre.
Can I just interject? I think that's to actually get the usage up is important, and actually the sort of the social media element to publicise what we're doing there as well is working. But long may that continue so that we're getting more and more bookings. But it's great to see some of the changes that have been made up there. Complete.
Also, just a credit to Harry and his team, because what you don't see is the work that they do in the background, because they are marketing these things to people. They are phoning up clubs and they're saying, do you know about this as a resource that you can use? So well done to Harry's team.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Next slide, please, Asia. We'll pause on this one as well. There's Rose Lane Car Park. Yeah, is that all I need to say? But we're doing our bit now.
Yeah.
And we've got another visit from the drainage company in December.
Yeah.
So we're going to do two through the winter, and then there'll be one in early summer, early spring. So hopefully that will help resolve it and increase the capacity there. But I think, you know, we're trying to do something now, which is the positive thing. That's all I want to say. I know we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Next slide, please. And this is just areas of pruning that have been carried out. And you can see the standard, the quality of the hedge cutting now is improving no end. Really pleased with the standard and the quality we're achieving there. And that's due to, you know, we've got the other two operatives in place now, which is fantastic, and that's helping us get round things and improve the quality. And I was really glad to see that, you know, we had the meeting with members on site, a lot of the play areas, and they were able to see the fantastic work that the public realm team are doing and how we're basically a victim of our own success in some ways. The play areas have transformed no end. And also the pruning works and the good horticultural practices have improved no end. And that's down to investment, training. The training is the thing, and the experience we have within the team, and passing that on to the team. And then we'll continue to do that. We've got a couple of young members of the team who are keen and they want to learn, and they're getting trained in the proper ways, the proper horticultural ways. Next slide, please, Asia. This was an interesting one. We were called upon to assist with, there was one of the residents in the town had a bit of an issue, and obviously their ambulance had to attend. And this was at Eagle Farm Road where they landed, and public realm assisted. The ambulance couldn't get to where it needed to be, so the public realm team, well, these guys, because the ambulance wasn't there to meet them, so the public realm team took them to the casualty in one of our vehicles.
That's good.
Yeah, which was really good. And that's Jason in the middle of the bottom picture, Charge Hand, who does a fantastic job for public realm. And he was there and he was coordinating it and done a great job on that day. Next slide, please. And this is some of the football pitches. Obviously, we have full-size pitches, we have 9-a-side pitches, we have 7-a-side pitches. We have a better football offer than we've ever had in the town. Better football offer. New goalposts. Clubs are providing 9-a-side goalposts, 7-a-sides. There's something I wanted to show you, but the video was too long. We trialled a robot, white lining machine, which was fantastic. It's amazing. And it's so accurate, it's unbelievable. And it's something I'd like to look at in the future.
It's not in the budget for this
It's not
year.
in the budget,
no.
but I
Well,
think
it's
it's, you know,
a growth item.
yeah. And there's the new nets are there in the bottom right hand corner. The picture at the bottom left is something that, you know, I've encouraged through my experience in ground maintenance over the years. It's something that's very important on a sports ground. That's aeration. Yeah, you've got to get air into the root system, and it also decreases the compaction and allows pitches to drain better. Okay, so what we do on a monthly basis now through the winter season, obviously ground conditions permitting, we spike them. And we don't just spike them one way, we spike them two ways. And it's always on angles. You never spike that way and that way because you'll take squares out and you make holes. So it's always on angles. So they're learning good practices, and the pitches, I've just went to see some of them today myself, and they're improving no end. And also just the additional works we're doing, which the budget now is allowing us to do, the repair work we're doing, you know, the pitches are getting better, and with the incorporation of new goalposts and everything, you know, the football offer is fantastic now. Next slide, please. And this is some of so we know that we do in-house training as well. And this is Ian, who's been getting trained on the ride on Moss. What I've done, I organised with Ernest Doe to come, who'd done training of the machine for free for us. And then he's got to get practical experience. So we've got an experienced operator who's well capable of giving him the operational side, the practical side. So he took him to sites to let him have a play around big areas, so he didn't hit anything, just until he gets used to the machine. He's now, you know, I can put him on the machine and with confidence now. And again, that gives us obviously holiday cover, sickness cover. So we have that now. Yeah. So it's fantastic. And he's a very experienced operator, this chap. And this is Palace Street. We put planters there, one to stop parking, I believe. There was one strategically placed there, and the other two on the corner. They're now planted up, and obviously we've got the BTC logo on them as well now. Next slide, please. I think that's us actually. I think. Yeah, so that's that's the completed planters. Yeah, yeah. The plants are a bit more. People say, why are they not flowering? Why are they're only been in a week? We've got to give them a chance. We've got to give them a chance to grow. Yeah, so we're making big improvements in the town. Yeah, and that's some more of the plants that we put in. That's the Hitchin Street planters and the hairdresser planters, I call it, the Sainsbury planters. Yeah, so it's all coming together. It's looking good. Next slide, please. And this is a river walk. This is down the river bank, an area that we look after. Yeah, it's all nice and tidy there now. That used to be all overgrown. It's all nice and tidy now. Yeah, I see that, yeah. Yeah, so next slide, please.
Another 28 slides.
No, I think we're close. We're close now, I promise. Yeah, so basically can we just stop on that first picture there? And I think that picture there is absolutely fantastic what we've done at Stratton Cemetery. If you look at that, it's new benches, that tree there, it's an Acer. The colour on that, the autumn colour on that tree is amazing. And if you get a chance, go to Stratton Cemetery in the autumn and in the spring and have a look at the new trees we've planted, and you'll see the difference, big difference there. It's fantastic. And all the new bins and benches have made a great difference there. And this is only, I'd like to say this is only a snippet of what Public Realm do on a day-to-day basis. I'd be here all night if I've got thousands of pictures of the work that we carry out. But what I see, and I call it our journey, right, I see we're going on a fantastic journey and we're building it day after day after day. And the guys are positive about what they do. They love what they do. And their quality is improving day in, day out. Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. You can.
Have you noticed anything emerging connected to the new planters and about how they're being received by the community?
Yeah, positive, yeah. There's one or two that get used as rubbish bins. But it's going to happen. But no, generally positive. I think, it made a big difference in the town.
From this year, I think actually it's a very, very positive thing to actually have the videos and the pictures to show what the work that you're doing. I think those, as we walk around the town, it's absolutely obvious that the improvements that are being made. And if you look at the planters and planters around outside and the planting outside Stratton House, for example, and all the way in the town, and it's not just that, but there's some really, really positive things that are happening, and that isn't particularly, Harry, to do with having the number of staff. It's also about, yes, it's an element, but it's about having the skill set and the approach and the desire to improve things, and that's really obvious in your passion to make it work. But I think on behalf of the committee, thank you to you, but also thank you to Jason and the rest of the guys out there who are clearly doing a really good job. And it's good to see this come into this committee because we've not seen it consistently before, but over the last year or so, I think we've seen it, and this is a real positive for us. So thank you. Right, are we happy to? Anyone else want to comment? Are you happy to move on? Go on, Colin. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all want to say thank you to the man himself, because I think it obviously comes from Harry. I think it's a massive change. So thank you.
Well done. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, if I can find the right page, which is the play area report. So I think is that Mr. Hussaini?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. It certainly could be. Although I'll invite Harry and colleagues to pitch in as appropriate, really. So essentially on the play areas update report, thanks obviously first off to colleagues, but also PLOS committee members for having attended the 2 site visits we did, which between the 2 site visits covered all of the areas in question in figure 1 here in the report for the play areas. I think it's safe to say that as a result of the visits, members agreed, PLOS committee members who had attended agreed a kind of note of the discussions at the 2 site meetings with officers, which kind of feeds into this report here. Speaking broadly, the overall original specification, which had been previously presented to members, had been slightly downwardly just had a slight downward trajectory to it in a sympathetic way, should we say, and with certain items of play equipment kind of swapped back in and across some of the other play areas in question here. Some of the downward trajectory was felt specifically at Stratton Way, just outside the sort of toddlers play area, if you like. There's an area there which gets quite a lot of use, or heavy use, by teenagers essentially coming out of Stratton School across the road, and it was felt that perhaps there would be a need for some teenage-focused play equipment, as yet to be determined, in that specific area there. So in the round between that equipment there, but also the other kind of slightly reconfigured specification here in figure 1, it was felt that would go a lot further and be a lot better received by all those different play areas, and financially go still within the kind of original envelope here, which is set out in the table. So essentially, in terms of recommendations here with the report, we're seeking for obviously PLOS members to discuss and agree with what's been set out in this report for the specification, which will enable officers to go and obtain itemised detailed final specification quote, and then return that to a future PLOS committee meeting in January.
And I think if I just follow on with that, I appreciate that we arranged the meetings, they were during weekdays and some members were able to attend and some weren't, and it is noted in the report, we weren't able to arrange adequately, and I'll hold my hands up on that, where timings, etc., that didn't allow us to get a meeting for everybody. So what you've got in the report are the sort of the thoughts of the members that attended in conjunction with the officers that attended, and I think it was a fairly wide-ranging discussion. There wasn't there's no limits to the conversations really, and if we felt that we're on a particular location that actually something didn't need to be there, or we didn't feel that it should be in there, or there's no work needed, then whilst it might have been in the original specification, we felt that perhaps some of those things could come out. So what you have here is the sort of the summary of that conversation, and I thank Councillor Agnew for sort of bringing the thoughts together as well. It's not, luckily, Councillor, appreciate you putting that together. But what we have here is there are some elements that members who weren't present would think, well, why, for example, I think Poppyfield, adding the K2 play unit, which is quite a big play unit. Why would we want to put that in? But we felt because of the location, and those of you know where Poppyfield 1 is, it's on the way from Biggleswade Academy in towards the Kingsfield Road shops, and it's a good walkway through there. And we felt that actually that has potential for more usage, and it's a fairly small play area. And those of you see the wooden pigs, and if you've seen the play areas with the wooden pigs are, and yes, exactly that, Harry. They're slightly embarrassing to say these. So the wooden pigs will move from our play areas, subject to this change, and go to on the green wheel or somewhere else. But the idea being to enhance the play areas over the coming years. So it's the specification really was made up from some thought process on site. We have emphasis in the report, or some commentary relating to PWLB. Clearly, this is not the only funding stream. So we've got an agreement to be able to draw down some money, but that's not necessarily where we're going. So the idea here is to get some agreed pricing specification, so we can then make an informed decision in due course. But at some point, we could do some of it, all of it, if we can get grants from elsewhere. But it's more about looking at those particular sites that we'd identified and making sure that we didn't just go with what we'd done previously. We've made some changes to the benefit, I think. I've stopped talking now. So any members' comments, please? Councillor Skelton.
Thank you. Yeah, just on the Watkin Walk, and it's mentioned in the recommendation, but just reading figure 1, I probably just not reading it properly. I can't actually understand what we're being asked to do in Watkin Walk.
So, well, I'll say something first. And so essentially, when we visited Watkin Walk, there's a couple of options there. I mean, if you've seen the play area there, I'm going to say it's not well loved, but I think the fact that Harry and his team have done some work on it will have enhanced it. So we had a view that maybe it could stay as it is, or we don't leave it as it is, and we remove the play equipment and then move some of the equipment elsewhere. And that's really what we're looking to get an idea from, whether actually members are feeling that the right thing to do is to leave the equipment there in that space or not. And I think. If the steer from the committee is actually we could leave it as it is, I think that would be acceptable. Equally, we could use the play equipment there elsewhere within our play areas. And I think the other suggestion, Harry, was around the fencing that's there, relocate the fencing. We hadn't planned to visit Kaiser Court, so we hadn't planned to visit Kaiser Court. I think we ended up visiting Kaiser Court, saw the fencing there, and I think you saw in the video the fence is not the best, and I think there might be a potential to, should we decide to not retain the play area in Watkin Walk, we could do something different with the fencing. So that was the idea, but that's really for members here to discuss. So does that answer your question? Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, just, I mean, it obviously, I think if we do decide to look at doing something different there, I think that should be subject to consultation.
Yep, and that's like, again, is part of that process. So if the committee's view is that we need to do so, we would like to do something different, we absolutely would go through public consultation, which is what's in the paper there. Councillor Agnew.
I just wanted to add, maybe for your information, because I was part of this group when we were walking around. I think the exercise was very important because as we all are not experts in playground equipment, it was actually good to see what is what and why it's priced this way, but most importantly, whether it sits right when you look at it from, you know, the third person's bystander sort of, and regarding what can work, what jumped into everybody's eyes, I would say on behalf of everyone, is it felt like it doesn't sit right in the place where it was. It's too cramped and it's sort of tucked away with no particular reason why it would be there. But of course, we were conscious that in the houses nearby, if there are people with children who actively use it, they may actively object to our proposals altogether. So it was first and foremost the decision to entertain the different options around it, but also see Harry's suggestions about the usage of this equipment. So all in all, it would not hit our budget. Because I think what I liked most about this exercise, that actually it allowed us to make informed decisions without getting all these loans and the things, because we went through a different mindset this time around. And I'd strongly propose that whenever we do this kind of things, to please use the time, but also invest the time to actually walk around. Because I think it's like with any RFP, unless you actually see and test and try the equipment or whatever you are intending to buy, you can never truly say. So in that sense, it was very good.
And I'd just echo that. And I think one of the things I without being predetermined on what can walk, I had a view that we'd got some plan for new equipment, and then when you visit the site, you think actually it's okay as it is, and actually maybe that's not the right thing to do. So, Councillor Alban, and then Councillor Jones.
Yeah, I mean, there are issues with that playground as well. There's a manhole cover inside the play area, which isn't ideal. It's used quite a lot by local cats as well, and so again, that's not an ideal in a play area. So yeah, personally, I would favour just turning it into a green space. That's my personal view, and reusing the equipment elsewhere.
Okay, Councillor, I think it was Councillor Jones, and then Councillor Strawn.
So thank you for all this, super helpful. I wonder if there's a way, as we consider what we're going to do at Stratton Way, if we can amend the wording that says medium large wood adventure trail for teenagers in the wider play area, or maybe we consider it in a different light, just because I agree that something's needed because of the proximity to the school, so the kids go and hang out. So I'm on a win on that. As a parent of two teenagers, I'm not sure that the words wooden adventure trail is going to land very well. But I also wonder if we pivot our thinking to allowing a space for them to be where they're not going to encroach, but something that dissuades them from interacting with the younger children's play equipment. No idea what that would look like, not an area of expertise, but I'm just wondering if, however this goes forward to wherever it goes forward to for ideas on what that could be, by putting that wording in, I just wonder if we broaden the scope to allow ideas to come forward. So yeah, and just that dissuasion piece as well as allowing them.
So what you're saying is the wooden adventure trail isn't necessarily appealing for the teenagers.
Honestly, I'd love us to go outside and ask a few teenagers if
they like
a wooden adventure trail, but I feel we may get laughed at.
Well, I think I think in all seriousness, because we have got a number of the sort of the wooden trails around our play areas, and maybe that's there's options to look at something different there. So let's take that away. Have a look at what could be there.
We don't know what else exists and what other what companies have done for other populations where they've got teenagers. But also, it's how do we give them their space, but also encourage them not to encroach on the younger children's play area.
So I'm getting a sense that the wooden adventure trail idea is perhaps not universally well received. So maybe that element go back to the drawing board, think about what we could come from. That's not really very helpful when it comes to trying to go away with the specification. I appreciate that.
Well, no, I wonder if there's just asking for ideas when you go out. You don't have to be prescriptive, right? When we go out to ask people, we can literally just.
Okay. Yeah. We're happy with that. Yeah. Go on, Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Chairman. Very interesting report, which I think clears things up quite a bit. My gut reaction to the Watkin Walk issue is, having seen the presentation that we saw immediately beforehand, perhaps the sensible thing or practical thing in the short, at least for the foreseeable future, i.e. this year, is to leave it as it is and see what take-up is as a result of the improvements that were made. And it may be that they will work. If not, we've always got the option to remove it later on. So I think that would probably be a practical way forward. As far as, unfortunately, I couldn't go on these inspections, may I ask that perhaps for next year, say June, that we actually arrange a PLOS evening to go round the centres, so it gives all members an opportunity. If it's a Tuesday evening, we're well used to keeping Tuesday evenings free, and I think that may be a better way to get a complete picture.
I think that's fair, Councillor Strong.
So,
I think,
and the final point I wish to make is it's not clear from the report, because I know that we may or may not use BWLB funding, but last time we were asking for confirmation as to when we could draw that down and the period, whether we can draw it down and whether we're going to be out of time, because that was one of the concerns that I couldn't see mentioned in this report. But I think it'd be useful for members to be aware whether would be able to use this if we do go down the route that's been recommended.
I think we have about a year, 12 months to draw down. So I think we've received this letter for almost about 2 months now. So we effectively have about 10 months to go.
Okay. Could we have clarification of that, please, just so that it's quite clear when we've got to deal with it by?
Respond. Yeah, Ernest is completely correct. So it's a 12-month drawdown period. So, yeah.
So in the next report, could we please have the date that it will run out in that report?
Okay, Councillor Knight.
Thank you. So broadly, I'm in favour in proceeding and getting a detailed specification of quotes. I think, touching on the PWLB element, my personal view is that should very much be the funding of last resort. And I am eager that we pursue alternatives like sponsorship with some of the larger businesses in town. And what I would really like to see is officers coming up with a bit of a plan around how we're going to seek things like sponsorship, because if we could get a company to sponsor a play area, for example, which, is a long, 10-year sort of return where they get some advertising and maybe the opportunity to rename the area, that may be a much more attractive way to fund some of these initiatives.
Thanks, Councillor Knight. That's noted. I think we were mindful of that when we were visiting the sites. We had the fact that the PWLB was a factor, but also the fact that it's not the only funding stream. So welcome that as an opportunity. So anyone else wish to comment in relation to the option and the sort of the way forward? Are you happy then for officers to go away with as much of a specification that we've given you, subject to Stratton Way, doing something slightly different that isn't wooden? I think I'm sensing that become more so something more attractive to teenagers. I'm not quite sure what that looks like, but let's have a think about that. But and legal thank you. Does that give you enough to work with? Okay.
We have massive piles of teenagers sitting around all day doing anything.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. We'll move on.
We can just ask the teachers.
Okay.
Just ask the teachers in school.
Right, where are we?
Has that been proposed, seconded and passed?
Thank you, Councillor Strawn. I have a proposal from that this is the way forward. So I'll propose to the chair, this is the way forward. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Move on. So we're now on Items 10, items for information, we have none. Public open session, no members of the public. So we've now got some exempt items to deal with. So are you happy for me to close the meeting formally and take a vote to do so? If you want me to read, no.
Move the appropriate resolution to go into committee on the grounds that there's commercial sensitivities to it, etc.
Seconded.
Okay, all those please show, thank you. Get some